Well, good evening and welcome to this live stream to kick off one big, beautiful month of mobilization to finally defund the abortion Goliath, Planned Parenthood. Oh my goodness, you are in the right place, the right time. I am so glad that you are joining along with people from all across the United States of America. We even have people who are joining us from far beyond. I want to be the first to officially welcome you. My name is David Bereit. I'll be serving as the host for our time together this evening. We might have met before. Maybe it was in my season where I led the Global 40 Days for Life movement, an organization that I founded and it led through its first decade, watching 2,000 leaders and hundreds of thousands of volunteers around the world save 14,000 lives from abortion, close 83 abortion centers, and help 143 workers to leave the abortion industry. And today I am very honored and blessed to serve as the executive director of the Life Leadership Conference, a brand new convening organization that brings leaders, organizations, philanthropists, and advocates together to achieve maximum life-saving impact, kind of like what we're doing here tonight on this live stream. I've personally spent these last 2 decades on the front lines of this fight. And I believe with all my heart that right now, this is one of the most opportune moments we have ever had to turn the tide for human life. And tonight, as we host this live stream, this marks the beginning of a powerful, unified, month-long, movement-wide effort to end federal taxpayer funding of the nation's largest abortion chain, Planned Parenthood. Now, we all know Planned Parenthood is a horrific organization, but did you know that with your taxpayer dollars, every year, Planned Parenthood kills 402,230 babies through abortion? Their latest annual report just came out a few weeks ago. They literally killed 402,230 children, babies, last year through abortion. But it's not just that, because with your taxpayer dollars, Planned Parenthood pushes vulnerable minors, 16-year-olds, toward irreversible, sterilizing, cross-sex hormones. Not only that, the New York Times even recently exposed that through your taxpayer dollars, Planned Parenthood harms women with botched, substandard care. Horrific expose report on the front page of the Sunday New York Times. Not only that, with your taxpayer dollars, Planned Parenthood denies real health care and pregnancy help by draining resources away from life-affirming alternatives. And they're doing all of this by raking in $792 million in forced taxpayer funding without transparency, without accountability. And the bottom line is, this is not care. This is exploitation. And you and I should never be forced to fund this crisis. And thankfully, we have a window of opportunity, a narrow window of opportunity to do something about it. Because thanks to Speaker Mike Johnson's leadership, the United States House of Representatives just passed a federal budget that defunds Planned Parenthood. And now the fight shifts to the United States Senate. And if the Senate holds the line, we could strike the single biggest blow in decades against the abortion and gender hormone Goliath. Even just last week, Planned Parenthood CEO publicly admitted that nearly 200 Planned Parenthood centers could be forced to shutter. That's 1/3 of their facilities. The single biggest impact the pro-life movement has had in the last 20 years against the largest abortion operation. So here's what's on the table. If that is the case, if 1/3 of Planned Parenthood's facilities, 200 of them, could be forced to shutter, if you divide their abortion numbers by 1/3, that means that over this next month, we have an opportunity to save 134,000 babies from abortion per year. And because the House inserted a 10-year defunding measure, you would multiply that by 10, 1.34 million 1,344,000 lives could be saved by what we do over this next month. Not only that, with 200 facilities closing, this would shield tens of thousands of minors from sterilizing cross-sex drugs, hormones, and harmful gender ideology. Hundreds of thousands of women will be protected from negligent, dangerous care, like that was reported in the New York Times. Hundreds of millions of dollars in annual taxpayer savings and real health care redirected to women, families, and communities that truly need it. That is what's on the table. We literally, if we do this right over this next month, can accomplish more than the pro-life movement collectively has done in all the efforts, all the marches, all the petitions, all the calls, all the rallies, all the legislation. All of that has done over the last 20 years combined. We can accomplish that in these next 30 days. But passing this bill isn't going to happen by us just sitting back and hoping it'll happen. It will only happen when you and all of us rise up together in strategic, sustained action. And that's why Students for Life and many other groups across the movement are launching today this big, beautiful mobilization month. And tonight we are kicking this off. And I'm so excited by everybody that we have that you're going to be hearing from tonight. So who are you going to hear from? You're going to hear from Kristi Hamrick. Kristi is the Vice President of Media and Policy for Students for Life. She's going to provide an update about what President Trump's big, beautiful bill actually is, where it's at in this approval process, how this bill would defund a large amount of Planned Parenthood's taxpayer funding. Then we're going to hear from Kristan Hawkins, President of Students for Life. She's going to give you all the details on how each of us can join this big, beautiful mobilization month to get the U.S. Senate to pay attention and push this bill across the finish line. But it's not just going to be people who've been pro-life their whole lives that you're going to be hearing from. You're also going to hear from Myra Rodriguez, former Planned Parenthood employee and whistleblower, who's going to give us insight into why every single person, not only in the pro-life movement, but every American taxpayer for that matter, should be unified in our efforts to defund Planned Parenthood of all of our taxpayer dollars. And then you're going to want to stay till the very end because the social media influencer we all know and love, Isabel Brown, is here with us. She's going to be making one of her first appearances back since becoming a mom 5 weeks ago. And she's going to tell us why we've got to make defunding Planned Parenthood a priority this month and what we can do, how we can take action, especially on social media, to keep this mission moving forward. So with that, let's roll up our sleeves. Let's dive in. You are in for a roller coaster ride. Strap on your seatbelt. We're going to have a great time together. And let me start by bringing on Kristi Hamrick. Let me pull her up on screen here. Kristi, welcome. How are you doing this evening?
I'm excited. Although I have to say, after listening to you, I'm even more excited. And I thought I was happy before.
Hey, we all just, it's like we fuel one another, right? We get each other excited about this.
We're not tired of winning yet. And we're
Amen. I love that.
Either.
Okay. All right, Kristi. So the House of Representatives passed this one big, beautiful bill. It was just 2 weeks ago, May 22nd. And the vote was 215 for, 214 against, and one member voting present. But it passed. And this budget includes a provision to defund Planned Parenthood, not just this year, but for 10 years. Right. So can you take us inside, give us the grass tacks on what the bill is, where it stands now, and what it means if the Senate actually passes this measure?
Well, I think a lot of us have heard a billion times, if you watch the news, that we need 60 votes in the Senate to do one thing, 60 votes to do another. We can't get 60 votes. We can't control the Senate. Therefore, even if we control the House, we're stuck, yada, yada, yada. So what's exciting about this moment is when President Trump took the White House and then the Republicans held the House and the Senate, we had an opportunity to do a budget process called reconciliation. And we don't need 60 votes. We don't have to do that supermajority in the Senate. We can get a deal in the House, which goes to the Senate if it deals only with the money, only with the budget. And then we can reconcile the differences between the House and Senate, reconciliation, and it can go to the president. It's very important that the things that we're looking at deal only with the money. It's not a policy bill. We can't change things that don't have a financial impact. And this is something that the last time we almost got close enough to cut Planned Parenthood of real money, 2017, we were stopped in our tracks and we learned some things then. So we started in the House. We have a bill that allows in the base text that we are going to defund Planned Parenthood and all abortion vendors, not just Planned Parenthood, for a period of 10 years. You have to put a year marker on it. At Students for Life, initially, we were like, how about 49 years? Because they had 49 years of power under Roe, and that's gone now. But 10 years is where we're at. That measure, by the grace of God and by the leadership of Mike Johnson and others, has gone to the Senate, but now we have to start again. It's very, very important for people to understand that we need to be in the base text, in the language of the bill, and when it needs to be for 10 years. Why the base text is important is on the Senate side, we're going to have what's called a vote-a-rama. They're going to toss a bunch of amendments out there. They're going to debate and vote in 2 different cycles of this. And it's very easy in the middle of the night when everybody's tired and shouting at each other that all the amendments get killed. One of the things that we fought for day one, second one, is to be in the language of the bill, the base text, and for 10 years. We started meetings on this a couple days after the election. That's how long we've been working on it. This has been more than 6 months in the working. And again, we in 2017, we had a real chance at this. And that kind of brings us to some breaking news that we heard today that's just a little bit disappointing. Majority Leader Thune said that he was going to rely on the judgment of the Senate parliamentarian for whether or not we could go forward with our big, beautiful bill as it is in the House. He would allow something called the Byrd Rule to be evaluated by the parliamentarian. The last time this particular individual had control of that decision-making, she cut us out. So that's a real matter for prayer. And that's something that we need to be talking to Thune about. It's great to have bureaucrats give any kind of opinion they want, but we want to be in the base text for 10 years. And no matter what the parliamentarian says, at this point in time, we need to be able to advance this language so that real healthcare goes to real healthcare providers and not those who kill most children in America.
Kristi, thank you for helping us to know what's going on here. I mentioned a few of the stats, but I know that Planned Parenthood has recently revealed that their business has just exploded over this last year, of course, funded by our taxpayer dollars. Is there anything you would share with us about what their annual report revealed and why it only adds more fuel to the fire of why we need to pray for the parliamentarian to understand this and for Majority Leader Thune and everybody else to be able to advance defunding of Planned Parenthood in the Senate?
Well, I think what's disappointing about the Planned Parenthood report, which I know you feel the same way I do, is that once again, they got more money than ever before, a 13% pay raise from the American taxpayer. Now, all the money does not come through one program. What we're talking about when we talk about reconciliation is taking the healthcare dollars away from Medicaid, which is the vast majority of their funds, maybe 80%. That's speculative. But the vast majority of their funds come through healthcare spending. And again, that money can go anywhere. That money can go to federally qualified health centers. It can go to anybody that takes Medicaid dollars. So we're not taking healthcare dollars away from people in need. We are saying that people who provide healthcare need to care about the health of everyone who comes to that office, both mother and child. So we have a chance in this reconciliation process to take the vast majority of Planned Parenthood and all abortion vendors' money away from them to direct it to real life-saving care. Most of the money that Planned Parenthood gets is going to come through federal Medicaid dollars. But there are grants, there's Title X, there's all kinds of weird one-off projects. And then there's their new side business of sex-altering hormone treatments, which are devastating. So and those sterilize people. I don't think people understand that. These treatments, so-called, once given, generally are not reversible. So we're sterilizing children. And then we're killing children in the womb, and we're all paying for that. So that also comes through Medicaid. I don't think people understand that. A lot of these sex-altering protocols are paid for, again, with Medicaid dollars. This is a really pivotal time. Never in the history of our nation have we had an opportunity to take so much money away from Planned Parenthood and leave it with the people who need it and get it to people who care that everybody lives once they go there for a visit.
Well, Kristi, I want to thank you. I know you have been on the forefront of this fight with Students for Life and just pressing this all throughout this entire process, not just Johnny come lately, but really championing this case all along and helping people to understand. And I hope that what each of us can take away from this is a realization that what the House did was historic. What the Senate has the opportunity to do is profound, but there are some key points we need to really understand. One is we need to pray for the parliamentarian. Number two is we need to recognize these senators are going to be under a lot of pressure to do the wrong thing for all the wrong reasons. But it's time now for us to recognize that we have to seize this historic opportunity and to realize, Kristi, unless I'm misunderstanding what you're saying, this is not a done deal. What we do over these next few weeks literally can change the entire course of this effort. Am I correct in my assessment of that?
100%. Every senator needs to hear from every person listening to us, every senator. The GOP in particular, because they can do this without the Democrats, but we shouldn't do it without the Democrats. Everybody needs to understand that Planned Parenthood has hurt women, hurt children, is sterilizing the next generation. They need to hear from you now. And I do think we need to pray for the parliamentarian. Yeah. This is a key decision. And frankly, in my opinion, the last time she had a chance to make this decision, it was the wrong one. You know, there's a case right now at the Supreme Court that we're waiting for. And I know, David, you know it very well, the Medina case. And in it, South Carolina says we should have a right not to fund an abortion vendor if we don't wish to. That's Planned Parenthood says if we do the paperwork right, we get the money. And unfortunately, the last time, 2017, when we had a chance to cut out Planned Parenthood, people said, hey, they do their paperwork right. It's not fair to pick on them. But as the American people, we have a right to choose where we spend our money. So we pro-lifers are pro-choice when it comes to deciding where to spend our money. And we want to spend it in life-affirming healthcare. In Jesus' name, may God help the parliamentarian understand that. We did do some things differently this time because in this particular case, when we're going to the Senate, we're saying all abortion vendors are unqualified. But frankly, it's important that people receive life-affirming healthcare, and your senator needs to hear from you right now. And you don't have a lot of time to make this historic change in how we spend Medicaid dollars as a national people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me reiterate that. Your senator, you watching, listening to us right now, needs to hear from you. We're going to tell you exactly how to do that in just a few moments. This is an epic, historic moment. And I'm not using those words to over-exaggerate this. Literally, what we have the opportunity to do is something that we have not been able to pull off as a movement for 20 plus years. Kristi, thank you so much for your expert insights and your perspective and for your leadership on this front. And we appreciate you getting us started. And next up, I'm excited to bring on the president of Students for Life, who is joining us, Kristan Hawkins. Kristan, how are you tonight?
Great, David. Sorry, I was in a scramble. It's been a long day of travel for Students for Life of America, but it's so exciting to be with you guys because as you were just saying with Kristi in your conversation with Kristi, this is a historic I know a lot of times you'll hear things like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. This has never happened before, but this really is it. This is all the marbles right now. And I think we get so, bombarded with all these messages all the time, but no, this is not a fire drill. This is not maybe, this is it. I mean, this is something that you and I launched our organization. You launched 4 Days for Life. I launched Students for Life in the same year. And this was our goal, is to see Planned Parenthood defunded. And is it going to be a complete end of abortion? No, but you'd be taking down the Goliath. You're going to be using the stones we have, the small, smooth stones we have to take down the Goliath, which will lead to the end of abortion. And we all know this has to happen in order for abortion to be ended in our country.
That's right.
And so this is why I'm so grateful for all of you who've tuned in tonight and are listening to what you just got was an expert analysis from Kristi of what's happening on the Hill. It's super confusing. I know. I've been trying to do my part with like Instagram lives, keeping everybody up to speed. And that's why we created an action center for you to be as simple and as painless as it can be contacting your legislators as possible to get involved, because this is not something Kristan or David or Kristi can do. This is something that we all must do right now.
Yeah. Okay, Kristan, before I dive into what we can all do as part of this big, beautiful mobilization month, I want to just help underscore that years ago, many in the pro-life movement had this attitude that, well, Roe will never be overturned. But there was this one leader who was out on the front line saying, we are a post-Roe generation before it happened, and that was you. And you were saying we are going to end Roe. And even I saw and heard many pro-life leaders who were critical of you and Students for Life. Oh, you're just getting people's hopes up. And then it happened. And I was so thankful on the day that the Dobbs decision came down overturning Roe. There you were on the above the fold New York Times, out in front of the U.S. Supreme Court as the decision was announced. So everybody, the person who's listening to us right now, don't take for granted when Kristan Hawkins says defunding of Planned Parenthood is going to happen. This is somebody who's been right on some of the biggest things in the pro-life movement. So Kristan, with no pressure, pressure because of your credibility of what you've done, Students for Life and leading many other organizations has declared this month, as the U.S. Senate debates this bill, as the big, beautiful mobilization month to defund Planned Parenthood. So walk us through what can each and every one of us do this month to take action to encourage the Senate to take the right steps right now.
I actually, when I was listening to you and Kristi have a conversation, I was taking some of the steps myself just to make sure I could easily explain this to everyone. So right now you can go to a website, studentsforlifeaction.org/defund. On this site, you're going to see the webcast. You might be on the site right now watching this webcast. There's a sign up button where you can sign up and tell us how you want to get started. So we have 4 weeks essentially until July 4th to get this done, to tell the GOP and the Senate, no excuses. I don't care what the Senate parliamentarian says. This has to happen. This is the A1, if you're a Franklin Covey person, an A1 priority for the conservative movement. This is A1 priority for America, not just the pro-life movement. So when you go to studentsforlifeaction.org/defund, you can fill out the form, and it's going to give you 4 options. You can choose one or all 4 of those things. I hope you choose all 4. I am. The first thing you can choose to do, and by the way, we already have this created, is organize your own literature job. We want to see pro-lifers across the country doing church, Walmart, big parking lot lit drops where you're putting on car windshields what's happening in Washington. Because I know it's super confusing. It's a budget bill. We keep using this word reconciliation, which means we don't have to bypass the filibuster. People are like, this is summer vacation. What are you talking about? Didn't it already pass the House? It's very confusing. We've already created the literature for you so you can print it out, or we'll even ship it to you. So you can organize your own literature. This is easy. Just pick a couple of churches, look up when the service time or the mass time is, and go with your friends and family and go to places where you know there's going to be passionate pro-lifers who will actually take the action, which is on the literature, which is to call your U.S. senators. The second thing you can do is you can organize, you can host your own visit to your senator's district office. That is key. So I did this a couple weeks ago in Idaho Falls. I showed up at Senator Mike Crapo's office with a letter in hand, which, by the way, we've already drafted for you. All you have to do is print it out that you can deliver. This is something that's very unusual in politics. Senators and congressmen have like district offices around your state, but they never get any visitors. It makes a huge impact with just 1 or 2 people show up and say, this is an issue we care about. We know what's happening in Washington, D.C., and we expect our elected official to do the right thing. So you can organize this. If you've got a 40 Days for Life team, if you have a sidewalk advocate team, if you've got a prayer group at your church, y'all can go together, strengthen numbers and deliver this letter. And while you're there, ask to meet with the manager of the office, whether it's the district manager or whatever title they use, and tell them why Senator so-and-so must join you in seeing this as a key priority to pass President Trump's big, beautiful budget bill with defunding Planned Parenthood for the max amount of time and the abortion industry in it. The third thing you can do is you can sign up, you can check the box to contact your senators via phone, email, and even tagging them on social media. For example, X. A lot of the social media that we know members pay attention to is actually X, formerly known as Twitter. And we actually have an action site that will do it for you. That already has the letter written, already has the call script for you. In fact, it will call your own phone and patch you through your U.S. Senator's office. It's super easy. You just have to read the script. I know we don't all like to talk on the phone, but we've made it as painless as possible. These people, their job is to answer their phone from the constituents and take down your information, take down your concern, and then they tally up how many calls they get on the issue. It's kind of like a scorecard. So they'll say, we got this many calls in favor of Planned Parenthood today, this many calls against Planned Parenthood. That's why you want to keep calling every single day. And then the fourth action you can take is you can join.
Kristan, before you go on, I just want to underscore this point. So first of all, some of us may feel like, oh, I don't want to make that phone call. I want in a second for you to share, like, what was it like when you made a phone call like this? But secondly, I want to underscore before you share that, I was talking one time to a legislator in Washington, D.C., and I asked them, I said, how many phone calls does it take coming into your office before you actually think there's a groundswell of your constituents? And they said somewhere between a dozen and 20. Literally just a handful of people taking that initiative, making that phone call can let a senator know defunding Planned Parenthood is a priority. So Kristan, what's it actually like for those of us who are maybe a little bit apprehensive about doing it?
You want me to do it in real time?
Oh, if you're up for that.
Can I do an audible here?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so this, just for everyone watching, this will be going to a voicemail because I don't think they're still answering their phones in Washington, D.C. So I just went to Google. I didn't even use our action center because this was faster. I went to Google and I said, Senator John Thune's D.C. office. This is his phone number, right? So Senator John Thune is Senate Majority Leader, as Kristi explained. He basically holds all the power. So let's give his office a ring.
Hi, this is Senator John Thune. Thank you for calling my office. If you would like to leave me a message, please press 1. If you would like to hear general information. Hi, this is Senator John Thune. Please leave a detailed message containing your name, address, and phone number or email address where we can reach you. I appreciate you calling. We will get back to you as soon as possible.
Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Hello, this is Kristan Hawkins. I'm the president of Students for Life Action. I wanted to call because I was a little concerned about some comments Senator Thune has made publicly about the Senate parliamentarian, who's an unelected bureaucrat. And I just want to make it very, very clear that the pro-life movement is expecting the GOP to support President Trump's big, beautiful budget bill and reconciliation and ensure that Planned Parenthood and all big abortion is defunded of our tax dollars for the longest amount of time we're allowed, which I believe is 10 years. I want to make sure that is a priority for the GOP and the Republican Party to ensure that whatever budget bill the Senate votes out by July 4th and hands back over to the House, that defunding Planned Parenthood and big abortion for 10 years is included in that bill, because this fulfills President Trump's promise. President Trump believes that abortion is merely a state issue. I disagree. But if he really believes that, then we at minimum should stop funding the nation's largest abortion vendors in our country. I can't give you my phone number right now, but I can give you my email. It's Kristan, Kristan, @studentsforlife.org. Thank you. See, I just did it.
Whoa, that wasn't you. Wait, you're not bleeding. You're not suffering. You're not doubled over in pain. That wasn't.
And I'm a millennial. We hate phone calls.
I know. And here you are. You just made one and left a voicemail message. Anybody watching, you can do this too. Okay, Kristan, sure. I'm sorry. I cut you off because you were going to go into a next step. And I also know you have some weekly themes. So just like keep rolling out the big, beautiful month of mobilization.
The last step I was going to say is you can just, if you don't want to organize a visit to your U.S. Senator's district office, you can join one of ours. In fact, on studentsforlifeaction.org/defund, if you click that fourth, attend an existing senator's office visit, you'll see several visits to senator's offices that are already prearranged by our lovely national field team at Students for Life, and you can choose that. So go to studentsforlifeaction.org/defund. Sign up. There's a choose your own adventure map, as our executive vice president always says, and you can choose how you want to get involved. You will get an instant email from our staff that will send you to an action center where you can start emailing, calling, and tagging your senators on social media, where you can download the sample letter to give at the district office visits where you can download the literature to print out to put in everyone's car windshields at your church or parish. We have made this super simple. We even gave you a bonus activity if you want to help us with our National Celebrate Life rally and America's largest diaper drive, which is a Saturday, June 28th. We are still collecting diapers. You can donate for a pack of Very Life diapers. We're going to display these diapers. We've already raised over 100,000 diapers on the Capitol lawn. Our goal is to raise 400,000 and have one diaper for every baby Planned Parenthood kills. The Senate is still going to be in session. They're going to be deliberating this bill. We want to show them the price of their inaction. And we're going to have this rally on Saturday, June 28th. You can join. It's free. And then we're going to give all the diapers away to local pregnancy centers, churches, parents in need. So you can also do that. So there's a lot of actions. I just gave you 5 things you can do. And when you're doing these 5 things, we kind of want you to do them more than once, right? So that's why David was saying these themes we have, because every week when you call your senator's office, 2 senators, every week, talk to them about something else about what Planned Parenthood does, right? Talk to them this week about how they are the nation's largest abortion vendor, that their annual report they just released the day after Mother's Day bragged that they killed an all-time high of 402,000 preborn babies, all while receiving nearly $800 million of our taxpayer dollars. The next week you call your senator's office, or you're out doing your church lit drop or visiting your senator's district office, talk about how they're transing our children. Planned Parenthood is the nation's #1, according to the HHS, distributor of wrong sex sterilizing hormones to gender confused young people. They are out to make a customer for our children. And really, they're trying to live out their founder, Margaret Sanger's vision, who believed that the masses should be sterilized, which these drugs are doing. And often it's way too late when children change their mind. There's nothing to be done. They're already infertile for the rest of their lives. And this is a tragedy that's going to expand decades in our country. The third week that you call your U.S. senators or visit their office, expose Planned Parenthood's unethical practices about how they've been proven. They've actually admitted in the state of Texas to double billing the state Medicaid. They've committed Medicaid fraud. How we already know from David Bereit and the Center for Medical Progress's videos back in 2015 that they've been involved in trafficking of baby parts of children they aborted, how they've been profiting off them. The videos that we've seen from Project Veritas recently, this August, showing them helping a uncle traffic his pregnant niece to have an abortion to cover up his crimes. The next week, you're going to talk about how Planned Parenthood redirects, they suck up all the money from actual life-affirming healthcare. We don't need, this is our best selling point, David, on campuses. If you ever have a pro-choice friend and you're trying to convince them why they shouldn't support Planned Parenthood, use this. If every Planned Parenthood in America shut down tomorrow, federally qualified health centers, which operate more than 19,000 service sites, which already get federal taxpayer funds, which are true nonprofits, not huge political lobbying machines, which provide way more services than the limited amount of services Planned Parenthood provides. Every FQHC would only need to see 2 more patients a week to make a difference. And they don't profit. They don't mark up their services. They don't take their profits and invest them in democratic politics. And by the way, they serve patients at a cheaper cost per patient to the taxpayers who are paying and subsidizing for this healthcare. It is absolutely crazy. I gotta watch my language. It is crazy to say we need to fund Planned Parenthood. It's just bad business. It's bad business in general to say we want to fund Planned Parenthood. And then the last week, it's 5 weeks of themes to go with your 5 action items, is tell your U.S. senators in person with your calls or their emails or your ex posts when you're tagging them that Planned Parenthood is funding their political enemies. This is the one that DC cares about. Let's be real. Ahead of last year, November's election, the 2024 election, Planned Parenthood bragged, this is what we know, that they spent $69 million boosting President Joe Biden and then at the time the candidate Kamala Harris. $69 million. They are one of the leading funders of Democratic politics. So even if you're talking to a Republican who you're pretty sure doesn't really care about life, I bet you they will care about this because Planned Parenthood is funding President Trump's political enemies. He's they're funding all of the Democrats. And so it's stupid for Republicans to continue to fund Planned Parenthood, their enemies, not because, that's just a callous reason. They should want to defund them because they kill babies and they're transing our children and they're harming women and they're selling body parts and engaging in human trafficking. But if all those other reasons don't work, use that one.
There you go. And Kristan, I was struck by the New York Times when they did their bombshell expose on botched care and unqualified staff about Planned Parenthood, where, and I'm paraphrasing the number because I don't remember, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $400 million that Planned Parenthood took in from their affiliates, from all the donors. And not $1 of that actually went to helping a single patient. Everything went to political and legal action to advance abortion and their gender harming ideology. So if we need no other reason, it's that this money is not even going to help one single person. Kristan, as we get ready, I got two more guests I want to make sure we bring on here, but I would love for you, if you were to say, somebody's sitting across the table from you, you're having a cup of coffee with them, and they said, why do we need to act right now between today, June the 3rd, and July the 4th? Why is this mobilization month so critical? Why do each of us need to take action each of these days over these weeks?
Planned Parenthood came out last week and said, and we already know from the New York Times expose, they're in trouble. I know from my personal tally that I've been keeping since January, they've already announced they're closing 21 clinics on their own. We know from the expose that their clinic directors are saying these clinics are in squalor. There's open sewage. They can't pay for them. They're in financial distress. We know from Planned Parenthood's own social media post last week that they're estimating that at least a third of their clinics will close if they lose $800 million from us, the taxpayers. Will that end abortion? No. It's going to reduce abortion. It's going to save hundreds of thousands of lives. We know they've killed more than 10 million children just in the past 20 years. No entity in human history has killed more innocent human beings. And now, for the children who've escaped the abortion gauntlet, now they're sterilizing them en masse. I was at a Walmart last night in Tacoma, Washington, checking out, and there was this young boy who was a trans woman. And my husband looked over and said, look. And I said, I know, I see. And it was just this utter sadness that here's this beautiful human who is created in our image, in the image of our maker, who's special and has a purpose, who then is going somewhere and taking sterilizing drugs to change who he is, who he thinks he is, into who he thinks right now he should be. This is a decision. I don't know what age he made this decision. This is a decision that's going to live with him his whole life. So even the children that have escaped Planned Parenthood, create a customer cycle for their mothers, have escaped the abortion gauntlet, are now victim to Planned Parenthood. This is an evil organization, and we finally have an opportunity to put an end to our complicitness, our forced taxpayer funding of this evil organization. It's not going to end all abortions, but I can tell you right now, if I can save a few 100,000 babies a year, David, I'm going to take that number. And I'm going to take it because that's going to put the Goliath down. The Goliath won't be dead yet, but the Goliath will be down.
Amen.
And that's our next step.
Okay, so I just want to encourage the person who's watching us, Kristan kind of walked us through it on the page where you're most likely watching the video right now. Here's the live stream. It's a few seconds delayed of what we're actually doing right now.
Okay.
Down below that is the information about the big, beautiful month of mobilization. You can read more about it. It talks about the weekly themes that Kristan went over with us. And then at the bottom, there's a form to get started. Now, here's a warning. We're here on this webcast. If you fill out the form before we're done, you're going to be taken away from this page. That's okay. You can come back to this page.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oops.
No, that's okay. If somebody did it, they're not hearing us right now, or they're watching the replay of it. That's okay. But if you're right now saying, I'm about to do this, wait just a few minutes. We got two more amazing presenters, but then fill out that form, and we're going to call you to action on that for this big month of mobilization. Kristan, thank you so very much. Appreciate you joining us. I know it was tight with your schedule and being able to pop in here. We're just so glad to have you here. And thanks again for your leadership on this effort to defund Planned Parenthood. Appreciate you.
Thank you, David. Thanks for all your leadership.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Kristan alluded to this. She was talking about the Planned Parenthood directors and employees who are having an issue with what the New York Times revealed. And now we get to hear from one of those herself. We get to hear straight from the source from Myra Rodriguez. And Myra, if you can make sure you're unmuted before you join us here, but you as a former Planned Parenthood clinic director, whistleblower, you've seen their operations firsthand behind closed doors. And I would love your take on what you would say to somebody about why defunding of Planned Parenthood is so crucial to the pro-life movement right now.
You know, David, I worked for them for 17 years. Out of those 17 years, 16 years, I really was promoting their services. I stand by their mission and vision and defending them, to the point that in 2017, I was one of the ones advocating for them in Washington, D.C., along with Cecile Richard, not to be defunded. So what changed my mind? Well, I became the director of the biggest abortion facility in Arizona. What I saw there changed my heart and mind about what was happening inside Planned Parenthood. The first wake-up call was they didn't care about other services. They didn't care about all the pap smears and the STDs and the birth control. They care about abortion. Abortion was the business. I get a quota now. I didn't have a quota before. But then what else? I started noticing the damage to women. Can you imagine what it is for you to lie to women for 16 years and send them for that abortion and tell them they're going to be safe? To only take over the abortion facility and realize that that was the biggest lie, that they're not safe. I call out the abortionists from doing harm to women. I call them out on deficiencies. I call them out of harming women daily. What do I mean by that? Perforate them during abortions, right? Not to mention the treatment of the unborn. I call them out on how many times we have heard them say that abortion pills are as safe as Tylenol. I said that myself to many women. And then women were not being safe with the abortion pill. They were having excessive bleeding, calling in the middle of the night. Can you imagine what it's like to get that phone call and hear the other side of the woman saying, I think I'm dying. I'm bleeding so much. That's what we have to live on as former abortion workers, right? And we made that choice. We made that choice to be there. But now we're making the choice to tell you that we have seen the misuse of our funds. Now, remember, when we defund Planned Parenthood, we're not only saving babies in our country, but our tax money helps to kill babies across the globe. You yourself, with the organization that you funded, 40 Days for Life, have seen them grow in other countries where they're fighting abortion. Not only are we fueling the Democrat decisions and many of the politicians in our country, but we're fueling for legislations in other countries. This has to stop. I call them out on misusing the funds when they're saying that it's for non-abortion services and billing Medicaid when they're not supposed to bill Medicaid for abortion patients. And what did they do? They fired me because they didn't care about what the wrongdoings were happening. They care about protecting abortion and the abortionist. And it has been the best thing that happens to me, David, for sure. I am very glad that I left that industry. It was a wake-up call. But now our money deserves to go to better places. You know, for many years, I was told the pregnancy centers were a lie. The pregnancy centers did not help women. Today, I speak for them in many states, in many cities, in many countries, where I have seen them do prenatal care, help women not only during their prenatal program, with testing, with ultrasounds, with baby items, with classes, furthermore, with living situations, paying their bills, buying them cars. I mean, we don't stop helping them get scholarships for their children, teaching them how to homeschool sometimes, you know, whatever it's necessary for that woman to keep going. So yes, today, as a former Planned Parenthood director, after 17 years inside, David, I'm here to asking our senators, asking our government, defund them. For finally defund them, take away all the funds, not like we did back in 2017, this time completely. None of our tax money deserves to go there, David.
Myra, thank you for your courage. Thank you for your passion about this issue. The other thing that really strikes me as you're speaking, when you're talking about these amazing pregnancy centers that Planned Parenthood vilifies and their political allies try to destroy because they're competition to them, these facilities, if you said, they're not going to get any taxpayer funding next year, they would say, we don't get any taxpayer funding now. These facilities, these pregnancy help centers, maternity homes, support mothers, provide these resources to them by the generosity of the community instead of demanding that taxpayers fund them like Planned Parenthood does. And so Planned Parenthood, by sucking up all this money through taxpayer funding, is taking our money away from the other good that we could actually do. Myra, I thank you for your courage, for your leadership, and for your willingness to speak out. And if you were right now sitting across a cup of coffee with one person and they said, Myra, I'm thinking I need to act. I think I need to call my senator. What would you say to them about why? Yes, now you need to act this few weeks before it's too late.
There's no better time than now for us to act. We need to defund Planned Parenthood. We need to put our money where better care is for our women, for our communities, for our children. We deserve better. And Planned Parenthood does not deserve a single dime of our money. If I can tell them every abortion is that owns a porch thanks to your tax money, you will change your mind very quickly.
Myra Rodriguez, thank you so much for your amazing, compelling words and for helping us to all light a fire about this and from your experience. You've actually been there and you've done that and you've seen the truth and now you're speaking out. Our final presenter here is in the house, Isabel Brown. Isabel, how are you doing tonight? Are you ready to wrap this up together?
Heck yes, David. I am doing great. I'm so excited to be here and so excited that this conversation is happening with so much hope for defunding Planned Parenthood once and for all.
Amen. Okay, Isabel, you are a new mom, a 5-week-old baby at home. We haven't heard throughout this call, but maybe that'll change during the time. You are also a pro-life influencer. You have an enormous following. I want, straight from your perspective, why is it crucial to defund Planned Parenthood right now?
Well, David, I could give you 8 million reasons why, but I think the reason for me that's most important these days is sitting right upstairs in her dad's arms, hopefully not making too much noise, but we'll see in the next few minutes. My whole perspective on everything has just been so shaken in the last few weeks in such a positive way. You know, they say over and over again that you don't really understand parenthood and the beauty of growing life and welcoming it into the world until you experience it. And that is so unbelievably true. I have found my heart expanded into new realms of love and compassion and empathy that I never even thought possible or could have even conceptualized before giving birth to my daughter. And it's been the most beautiful month of my entire life. But certainly that applies to an entire generation of people as well, not just myself. And I think it's incredibly obvious that Planned Parenthood, based on everything you've heard tonight and for a million other reasons we could give you throughout the rest of this call and every piece of content on the internet that we do in the pro-life movement, Planned Parenthood is hell-bent on destroying entire generations of people. My daughter's generation, certainly my generation, which we know 1/3 of Gen Z is missing in America today solely because of abortion alone. They are indoctrinating entire generations of children through school curriculum. Many people don't know this organization is the largest drafter of sex ed curriculum for public schools in America across the country, teaching your children that they should be sexually active at a young age, that their gender is something that they can change on a day-by-day given basis, and that their parents are against them for that. And you don't have to tell mom and dad. You can just come down to the clinic down the street from us and we'll take care of it under the table. Heck, my first exposure to Planned Parenthood really was in my college town in Fort Collins, Colorado, where just a few weeks ago, an 18-year-old beautiful young woman from the state of Colorado went in for a 20-week abortion procedure at a clinic that used to be across the street from my college apartment my sophomore year. And unfortunately, as happens far too often that never goes reported in the media, this 18-year-old woman died on the operating table because Planned Parenthood refused to call for emergency medical services, not wanting to expose just how dangerous their practices are. If we want to protect humanity, not just life in the womb, which certainly is our number one priority here, but humanity and the dignity of human life across the board, it has to start with defunding Planned Parenthood and demanding their closure in the United States.
Amen. And it's these real experiences of what's happening right now that just continue to underscore. And I hope every U.S. Senator reflects on that story, reflects on that butchering of an innocent person and says, no more. We're done. We're going to wash our hands of this for the next 10 years. We're not going to fund it. And then we'll work on the more important work of actually debarring this organization because they should never get a nickel taxpayer funding. Isabel, you know very well how social media is such a powerful tool, and Planned Parenthood has regrettably been using this tool to mislead and target your generation specifically. Recently, I've seen some of their posts. They're trying to fearmonger about, oh, defunding of Planned Parenthood would be bad for women. It would be bad for their health. Can you just speak right to your peer why they should be ignoring all this misinformation and false news and be unafraid of what a nation looks like without Planned Parenthood?
I love that you just used that word, David, misinformation, because for the last several years, people like myself that have made it our mission to tell the truth about Planned Parenthood and every other social issue we're dealing with have often found ourselves the victim of fact checkers and said that we were the ones spreading misinformation on social media, when in reality, it's these powerful, powerful lobbies and organizations just like Planned Parenthood that are using social media to strategically lie to you and to manipulate your emotions to normalize evil in our society. I wear it like a badge of honor that I am actually blocked by Planned Parenthood across every single social media platform because I regularly go after them to expose the truth and just to react to what they are putting out there for the ludicrous lies and propaganda that it is. Social media is not just a tool for Planned Parenthood, though. It's a tool for you. And I do think we can live in a country where Planned Parenthood is a very sad chapter of history that we look back upon, not a reality for the present, when we realize that you don't need 1 million followers or a blue verified check mark or opportunities to go on the biggest TV shows and podcasts possible. You can be a social media influencer yourself when you are willing to amplify the truth and when you are willing to call these lies out for what they are. So you can share social media posts from Students for Life of America. You can make reaction videos to the crazy stuff Planned Parenthood is putting out on their own channels to post that to your Instagram, your TikTok, your X, and your Facebook. And you can share things with the people in your own community to influence them to seek the truth and to drag these lies from Planned Parenthood out from underneath the darkness.
Amen. Amen. Isabel, I love it. Okay, so you're talking to somebody. My children would tell you I'm not all that social media savvy. Students for Life would tell you that as well. So let's say somebody's watching us right now and they're like, yeah, I relate to David. I don't get this whole social media thing, but I have a whatever, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is. If you were to say, here are 2 or 3 things you could do throughout this next month that could actually make a difference, regardless of if you have 1 million followers or 20, what would you tell somebody like me of how they can use social media to actually make a difference in this defunding effort?
Great question. And not everyone is quite ready to pick up the phone and start talking to it like it's a person and make content with your own face in it. So if you're not there quite yet, that's a-okay. The 2 biggest things that you can be doing this month to really put pressure on our elected officials to do the right thing, even when it's very difficult and they seem to be under a microscope here. Number 1 is to go comment on their social media accounts how you feel about the big, beautiful bill and defunding Planned Parenthood. I guarantee you, your senator has a social media account on every single platform, and they have real people on their staff running it that check the comments every day. So whatever they're posting about, take a few minutes out of your day to go comment something on their Instagram, their TikTok, their Facebook, any platform that you're using to make sure they know how you feel as your constituency that they are supposed to be representing. And number 2, just amplify the amazing pro-life content that's already out there about the big, beautiful bill, about Planned Parenthood, or just the abortion industry in general. You can repost things or retweet things, add stuff to your story, or just text the link to people in your own life to make sure it's getting out there to as many people as possible.
Okay. You've made this super simple, even for a guy like me. I just wrote down. So go to your 2 U.S. senators. Every one of us has 2, all 50 states, and comment on their social platforms and re-emphasize the points you've heard here. If you say, I forgot some of the things that Kristi said or Kristan said or Myra said, guess what? As soon as we're done with this live event, this will become a replay. You can watch Isabel's comments and everything else. Go comment, share some of the facts that you've learned here tonight. And then number 2 is share on whatever platform you have, share what you are learning, share the facts you're learning, share social media content that's coming out from Students for Life, from all these other organizations, Isabel's content. Share it far and wide, because that will help to amplify it and give it more traction. Isabel, I'm going to give you this last moment again. You're having that cup of coffee or tea or whatever it is you want to share with somebody, and they say to you, okay, Isabel, you are younger like me. I can relate to you. Like, what would you say to that person to motivate them that now is the time, take action, do what you can. We've got just from now until July 4th, if we really want to be free from Planned Parenthood, what would you say to motivate them to say, you've got to do it right now?
That word free is the very, very crux of this entire argument. We are watching a freedom revival happening, largely spearheaded by young people in our country right now across the board. But it's impossible for us to be free if we can't first start with appreciating the basic dignity of human life and protecting it as much as we can, be it innocent life in the womb, the most vulnerable people among us, or people our own age who are often falling victim to Planned Parenthood's gender theory propaganda and medication that is sterilizing them for the rest of their life. If we want the fullness of love that is offered to us in life, not just through our birth and that experience, but through sharing that with the next generation and being able to experience pregnancy and birth for ourselves as we get older, it has to start with stopping the wheels of Planned Parenthood from continuing to roll down the track.
It starts with stopping Planned Parenthood. I absolutely love that. Isabel, I just want to say thank you. And on behalf of everybody who's here, congratulations on your new child and your new season of life. For somebody who says, I want more Isabel, where can they go to follow you and stay abreast of your work as well?
If you just look up my name on any social media platform, the Isabel Brown, you can find us. And I'm posting lots of cute, fun pictures behind the scenes from momhood. We're back to regular content here in the next few weeks, but soaking up every second of this very short newborn phase for sure.
There's nothing better than the early days of being a new parent. Isabel, God bless you. Thank you so much for your willingness to join us here 5 weeks into your parenting adventure. We all have to go and follow you so we can see all the pictures and follow your content. And then thank you for everything you do to lead the way to help us understand what freedom really is and why it's important for each and every one of us, young or old, to take a stand and use the platforms God has given us to advance the cause of life. Appreciate you so very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let me wrap us all up, because we're going to actually tie this up and put a bow on it before the 9 o'clock hour or 10 o'clock hour. It depends on what time zone you're in. I'm in the East Coast, so it's going to be 10 o'clock. Look, we have this historic opportunity. Literally, the next few weeks will change the course of the pro-life movement if you and I and everybody who's here and everybody we know take action. This is not a time to be on the sidelines. This is a time to be on the front lines. The big, beautiful bill has moved from the House to the Senate, and it needs now our voices to encourage every senator, strong pro-life, pro-abortion, anywhere in between, let them know how important it is to defund Planned Parenthood for the reasons that Kristan articulated. The biggest abortion chain, 402,000 abortions, transing our kids, coaching them behind their parents' back to use dangerous cross-sex hormones and life-altering, sterilizing drugs. The fact that women are being harmed, botched care, negligence, harm, coercion. The very fact that there are better alternatives that are being denied because of the money that's being sucked into this, are pregnancy centers, maternity homes, and then also that they're funding the political enemies of those who are trying to advance common sense legislation, that they are misusing our fiscal resources. My friends, this is it. This is our moment. If ever there was a time for you to stretch out of your comfort zone and say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to pick up the phone like Kristan did. I don't want to get on social media like Isabel did. I don't want to be as passionate as Myra was. I don't want to be as in the weeds as Kristi was. Now we need to be for this next month. And when we each take that step to learn, to act, and to be persistent, we can turn the very tide of history. If you're on the page where this event has been live streamed, you can go down and you can fill out the form to get started and take these steps. If for any reason you're watching this video after the fact, you can just go to studentsforlifeaction.org/defund, and that's a great place to start. And when you go there, sign up, be a part of this big, beautiful month of mobilization. And together, let's defund Planned Parenthood, let's save children, and let's save our nation's future. This is our moment, and we are the people who have been called for such a time as this. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you for being a part of this webcast. Thanks to our presenters. Thanks to all those who worked on the technology behind the scenes to make it work. And most importantly, thanks to you for your courage, your willingness to step out and act during this month, so together we can finally realize this vision that we have had as a movement for decades, defunding Planned Parenthood, of hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars, saving hundreds of thousands of lives, protecting children, protecting women, and turning the very tide of the pro-life movement. God bless you. Thank you for being a part of this webcast, and I can't wait to be celebrating with you in just a few weeks as Planned Parenthood's funding is cut for the next 10 years. God bless you. Good night. We'll see you soon.